Hello. Right, before we get started, and you're all coming in, that's lovely to see. Today's webinar is scheduled to last 1 hour, including a Q&A. Click the CC buttons down below for closed captions. Ask any question that you have in the Q&A button. Say hello in the chat to everyone, just by selecting everyone on the drop-down, and you can use reaction buttons, which I've seen some many lovely reactions as well, so that's perfect. So, hello, right, so social media content creation without the cringe. Storytelling for arts and culture with me, Dean Shaw. For those of you who'd benefit from a description, I'm a white, middle-aged man. What hair I still have left is going grey, but not in a Richard Gere or sort of George Clooney sort of way, more Danny DeVito. Yeah. So anyway, I'm a tech champion for content creation at the Digital Culture Network. And if this is our first time meeting, hello and welcome. I can see actually there's some of my cases actually already here. So that's good to see. So hello everyone. Today, for the first time ever in 7 years, I've managed to talk someone else into doing a webinar with me. So helping me today, I'm lucky to have Hannah Isted, who is a published author of The Best 90 Days Ever. Her expertise in social media for small businesses is, I feel, absolutely perfect for us here in the arts and culture world. Hannah, would you like to say a few words?
I'd love to. Hi, everyone. It is so nice to be here. I'm Hannah Isted, and I'm really looking forward to talking to you about how we can do storytelling in just 10 minutes a day. So I'm going to be coming in a little bit later on and talking about that with you.
Lovely. Thank you. And also, I have my very glamorous assistant, just for an hour. She won't let be doing it any longer. Nicola Barrett, who will be looking after the chat and the Q&A, and she'll be putting links in the places. Those links I'd like you to check out. So Nicola, would you like to say just hello? Come on down, the price is right.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicola. I'm the social media tech champion at the DCN, and I'm a white woman. I'm in my early 40s. I've got purple hair, I wear glasses, and I'm wearing a green leopard print top.
And you may be joined by a cat any second.
I've closed them out the room.
Okay, good for you. Right, okay, cool. Right, so I'm going to pop something on the screen now, a poll basically. I want to know where you're from, what you're up to. Where are you in the world? Because obviously it's very difficult. I feel like I'm just talking into like a sort of the void at the moment. So it'd be lovely to see where on earth you're from. So we've got at the moment, coming in thick and fast. Oh, I've got other. I put other on there because I couldn't remember like north, south, east, west. I was like, there's bound to be somebody somewhere. So 5% people from other at the moment. East of England, London. Northeast, southeast, yeah, coming in thick and fast. 85% participants. We're going to close it in a second because I just want to sort of get on to the next poll. We've got such a packed webinar today. Right, so I'm going to end the poll now and share the results. So that's all the people that we've got with us today. Pretty cool. Nobody from America. 1, 2 people, 9 people from the EU, and 4 people from Scotland. Excellent. Welcome to Arts Council England. anyway, I'll stop sharing that, and just one more poll, just to sort of like, because while we're on a roll, I want to do another one which will launch this one. So I kind of want to know what kind of sector you're from. Now, apologies if your sector is not on here. I try to think of all of the cases that I currently have, like libraries, museums and art galleries and theatres, dance, festivals, music venues. A lot of independent artists I've been working with recently, independent musicians, and a large proportion of people are saying I'm not on here. I do apologise for not representing you. Wow, a lot of people are. That's incredible. Oops. Okay, right, I'm going to get to 85% participants because not everyone wants to say they want to do that, and then we'll just share the results, okay? So, end the poll and share results. So there you are. So there's some of your contemporaries. You've got libraries, museums. By far, I'm not on here. Okay, work to be done there for sure. Right, okay, stop sharing. Let's move on. Okay, so this is our agenda today, okay? Don't push, all right? You're already great at this. These are some of the best album titles in the world. I spent ages on them. There's always 2 types. your face or mine. Create intrigue, not fatigue, and it doesn't have to take forever to tell a good story. And the way that you can track the progress through the agenda is we've got Cassie the cat. And Cassie's going to be making her way along the agenda to tell us where we are in the process. Now, Cassie sadly can't be with us in real life because she died recently, but she was an icon then, and she's going to be our icon today. So, yeah, thank you for the hearts. It's sad. I thought I might cry, but you never know. So anyway, there's much we're going to cover in today's webinar. Some of you might benefit from a one-to-one session with me one day in the near future. Don't forget you can access that for free at the Digital Culture Network, thanks to the way that we're funded uniquely by Arts Council England. And even if you don't want to speak to me, which is understandable, you could speak to some of my colleagues at Digital Strategy, Email Marketing, Social Media, that's Nicola and Katie, Box Office Ticketing, CRM, websites, Search Engine Marketing, Search Engine Optimization. It's quite a long list. So you can go to the digitalculturenetwork.org.uk to get in touch. Nicola is just popping that in the chat now. Perfect. Lovely. Okay, right. Don't push. Okay. So at the moment, when we look at sort of social media, particularly social media advice that you say, oh, you must need a hook, you must need a trend, it kind of sometimes feels wrong for arts and culture, and it probably is. If it's feeling wrong for you, it probably is. Like a quick search of the current trends online can reveal anything from going around in circles and whatever that is. You know, it's so many different possible videos out there, but none of them quite feel right for arts and culture. And it's probably debatable whether they resonate with our audience, especially in the long term. I'm going to skip this bit now because that guy really, you just like, look at him, annoying. So what I think is more important for us here, sort of in arts and culture, is really sort of authentic storytelling. And it isn't about sort of being casual or trendy. It's more about sort of like having some sort of like clarity and intention and trust, which we're sort of like offering us up as like experts in our field. And from time to time, we may need to remind ourselves of that. You know, we are probably, well, we can see art galleries, museums, libraries, theatres, festivals, opera singers, independent artists, poets, the list goes on. And in short, we want to take people on this journey. And by doing so, we want to sort of like have a really clear message. We want to have like a proper intention as to the story we're trying to tell. And short form video isn't really just sort of marketing. It's got a much greater meaning. It's like having your own Netflix documentary, being able to sort of compress your story or the stories in your museum or in your gallery or in your theatre company and compressing them down into sort of bite-sized chunks that you have complete and utter control over, but not being afraid of sharing those sort of stories with them instead of chasing trends and feeling like, oh God, this isn't really us, this is a bit embarrassing, I don't really want to be on camera. If you're really passionate about your organisation or your art, it shouldn't be too hard to share that online. So how I kind of like to do that really is I stop thinking about like mega sort of amounts of people, and I start thinking like we're shouting out a megaphone to the world. I want it to be much more sophisticated than that. It's really just a pulling device, a way of us telling our story in those sort of bite-sized chunks to an audience that really wants to be there. And we stop wasting our time with stop wasting our time on resources of the uninterested and the unengaged. We're just looking for that one true fan. So we've got to think, well, what does that one true fan look like? What I like to do is I like to look at like what was their typical age, their demographic, their likes and dislikes. You can sort of give that person a name if you like. It might be that you have many people that sort of fit into that. What is our one true fan? What is that one person who's going to keep loving what we do and keep coming back? And it might be you end up with this like hosh-posh of sort of like different components that make up that one true fan, like Mr. Potato Head, if you like, and Mrs. Potato Head for that matter. So when sort of planning sort of content, I start by asking, you know, like this person I've created, what would Tom or Frank or Charlotte or Rose think about this video? Is it for them? Are we still on point? Is it important to keep going, you know, on and on about sort of this this subject? Are they going to still like it? Do we need to keep going back to the original source and evaluating it Sometimes you sort of need to sort of check yourself every so often. If you're going on camera, one of the things that I would probably do is I would try and forget that there's potentially millions of people out there watching you. You know, forget about family and friends and neighbours. You know, that woman from school with the Range Rover that you don't like. You know, forget about them, because likelihood is they're not going to see you on camera. You know, so that you are just talking to people who love art, who love dance, who love theatre, who love a museum. And it might be that once you've got past that feeling of like sort of that awkwardness, the numbers should sort of like talk for themselves. So it won't really matter. The amount of people that I've met who were sort of scared to go on camera, and they're sort of like, they get through that stage. And then when the numbers start to go up and up, and they start to see the fruits of their labour, and they're real tangible numbers to them, not necessarily vanity figures for somebody else to worry about, but they mean a lot to them. They don't really care what other people think, because as far as they're concerned, it's a perfect medium for sort of communicating their message. So it could be that this is what it looks like. You end up with a little family. You end up with loads of people's different names. You can end up with more and more different sort of people, you know, for different genders, different demographics, different backgrounds, different ages. Or it might be you just end up with one person that just looks a bit weird, like this. This is Mike, by the way. Mike is helping us today as well. He doesn't introduce himself, but we have to include Mike in every presentation. So if you're looking to slap on a moustache, slap on Mike. Anyway, so I think personally you are already great at this, and I think we just need to sort of like coax that out of you. So arts and culture should already be sort of really good at telling its story. Every day you're living that story. You're experts in your field, and your field is fascinating to so many people. So to start off by thinking about these potential subjects that you could put into videos, like I always think, like if I had sort of three types of questions that I can answer. So for instance, this one here would be like the one decision we had to make when putting on an exhibition was to include the controversial work of XYZ. Or what most people don't see when they come to the theatre is the team in the shadows that put on such great show. Today we're going to be talking to Bob, and Bob's been doing lighting for so many years, and he's got so much insights. And so another could be how this came to be my most time-consuming painting ever. So if you're an independent artist, it might be that you think, well, I haven't got like a theatre I can call upon, but I've just got myself and my paintbrushes and my canvas. But it might be that you've started a piece of work, it's nearing completion, but you're not quite ready to share about it, but you can talk about the process behind it. And opening out those sort of stories can sort of really bring those people in so that they really invest with you. Nice and easy topics that almost answer themselves. It's kind of like the secret to it. Not putting too much pressure on your shoulders, because as time goes on, you can get more and more confident with it. But at the moment, we just want really easy topics that we can pose the question and answer it quickly within like a minute or so long video. Now, there's two different ways of doing this. Well, there's many different ways of doing this, but there's going to be two types that I'm going to show you now. So the two types of storytelling are the face and the faceless. Okay, so if I show you this lady here.
Who'd taken a lover, Prince Grigory Orlov, a general in the Russian army. He wanted to smell nice for Catherine, so he commissioned a perfume from Bailey's of Bond Street in London and asked for it to smell like Russian leather. His dead animal scent was called Eau de Cologne Imperial Russe. I don't think Catherine liked it. Maybe she preferred the smell of living animals, and she ditched him soon after. 153 years later, soap makers' cousins bought Bailey's of Bond Street and all its scents, and in 1938 launched Imperial Leather with the exact scent created for Prince Orlov. So when you wash with it, you're making yourself smell like an 18th century Russian general and lover of Catherine the Great. But it does definitely deserve a place in the other British Museum, home to unsung British icons. It's Britain's most beloved and poshest soap, unless all this has put you off. This is the UK's classiest...
So as you can see, a hell of a lot of information there, condensed into like a really concise video. Simple to do, similar to what I'm doing here. So basically she's filmed it against maybe a blank screen, like a white, use something like Instagram edits to take out the background, and it's just overlaid all of the imagery behind it. And she's got loads of great videos on her Instagram channel, which incidentally my hostess with the mostess is going to be putting the links in the chat now for you to check out later. But before you do that, don't go anywhere, because we've got another one.
Light finds a way in. If you need a bit of colour during the darkest time of the year, let me point you towards Dulwich Picture Gallery and Anna Anker painting light. Anna Anker was a Danish artist, one of the skein painters working at the very northern edge of Denmark, where the light is sharp, pale and endlessly changeable. She was influenced by the Impressionists after visiting Paris, and you can see that in her use of complementary colours: violet against yellow, blue next to orange, and red vibrating against green. She also looked further back to 17th century Dutch interiors by Pieter de Hoogh and Johannes Vermeer, and you can see their influence in her quiet, sunlit rooms. And yet, Anna Anker's paintings are very grounded in skein. Her neighbours, her family, scenes of everyday life infused with the light that is so characteristic of the place. Fellow painter and art historian Carl Madsen said that she was the first Danish artist to paint a sunbeam. This is the first time Anna Anker's work has been shown in the UK, so it's a really special exhibition, and a reminder that even in winter, light finds a way in.
My apologies to the BSL interpreters. I forgot about all of the Dutch names, and sorry about that. So there's a lot to unpack there, and it's a good time to do a bit of a plug. If you are feeling inspired but not sure where to start, you can book a free one-to-one with me at any time after this to sort of go through it. We can brainstorm it together, okay? So it might be that you've got an idea and you think to yourself, how would I achieve that? I can help with doing that. The one thing I'd say about the second video is the video is a collection of shots, and that's really quite...
Light finds a way in.
Prince Grigory Orlov,
if you need a bit of colour during the darkest time of the year.
How bad was that? So, the great thing about having these two types of storytelling is the pros are having a human presence can be a really great asset. It helps build that sort of brand recognition for your organisation. If you think about your doom scrolling on Instagram, if you see the same sort of person, you're like, oh, I like that content, I'll watch that. Whereas if it doesn't necessarily say it's you from the very beginning, it might be that it's difficult for people to follow you as an organisation. Please don't put your logo on the videos. You don't need to do that, and it ruins you with the algorithm on Instagram particularly. So don't put your logo all over it. Just try something different. I'll show you how to do it different. So I think having a face on the camera, it builds that trust and that authenticity. It's easier to create constant content formats. For instance, you could literally bulk record a load of videos in sort of one session. You script it all out, talk to camera, and then add the background in. It's quite easily repeatable. It has been proven to grow the organisation's following faster, particularly on Instagram, and it can help to demystify arts and culture to a wider audience, which is no bad thing. However, there are some cons. Some audiences may well prefer that sort of institutionalized neutrality. God, I'm never going to say that again. Even us at the Digital Culture Network, for instance, there's no one face to the team. There's people that have been here since it started, like myself and James, but there's no one that can really say that they're the face of the Digital Culture Network. Although, to be fair, James is making a case for being the voice of the Digital Culture Network with his podcast. Okay, so the cons. It could potentially spot like an ego or an imbalance within the team, and that can lead to online trolling or harassment, particularly with James and his stupid, informative and well-produced, insightful podcast. It can blur sort of the boundary between personal and professional, and of course that's, you're at the mercy really of that person leaving. So if that person leaves, then you're sort of back to square one. And we all know examples of something that has dropped off when the real sort of like talent left. I'm thinking George Michael, Wham, Robbie Take That, and we can't forget Jerry from the Spice Girls. So you might be sitting there thinking, okay, right, we'll go with face one because We've got somebody who's perfect for this, and they'll be great for our organisation. But this is when you hit another roadblock potentially, and that might be there's two types of people. You've got the one who's like a social butterfly, okay, thrives in social environments, but really wants to remain private and doesn't want to go on camera at all. And then you've got somebody who gives the impression that they love what they're doing, but they don't like what they're doing, and it's socially exhausting and can only be coaxed out if they have hobnobs, which is me, right? So this is a picture of us taken at an introduction to the DCN, where I've done something very similar to this. I just spoke gibberish for a little while, asked some questions. It was so exhausting. I just needed to lie down, and it was a whole day event. So thanks to Alex for capturing this moment. That's apparently my face when my wife says we've got some sort of social event to go to at the weekend. But anyway, so moving on. So go faceless. Must be the solution. I mean, it's easier to film and then edit later. You can do the voiceover, and that ties it in all nicely. I see that more for sort of live performances and galleries, museums, or anybody who would really benefit from having the luxury of knowing where the day took them and sort of wrapping it up into a nice, concise video. So that kind of works quite well. It's certainly easier if you've got archive footage. So I think like the Imperial War Museum, they've got a lot of archive pathé footage that they can pull upon and then just do a voiceover. So in terms of like, they don't really need a presenter, they just need a voice. And it can be a lot of different people within the organisation, and it can just be recorded on their phone. And then with software today, we can sort of make it sound really clear and really crisp. So there's lots of ways of getting that really professional look. It might be easier for you to capture B-roll, that additional footage, and then add a voiceover as the story evolves. So it might be you don't really know where the day is going to take you, and then all of a sudden something amazing happens, and you think, well, as long as I film it, I can talk about it later. So, of course, there are some sort of downsides to having that. I think one of the things I'm seeing more and more of, going down the faceless route, a lot of AI is being created. A lot of content is being created, with AI, and that's typically faceless. If it's not, if their lips are all wrong and stuff like that. So it might be that us humans start to really want to see real human beings delivering content and talking passionately about what they do best and why they love this certain thing and getting us on board. And I don't think that comes across necessarily as well. What I would say probably is the secret is do what you do with what you have. It's a marathon and not a sprint. I can say that 1,000 times until I'm blue in the face. You are never going to win a BAFTA for your social media content, unfortunately. You might, however, win a Digital Culture Award one day in the future, but right now we're only interested in producing that content for that one true fan. Okay, channels that have sort of thousands and thousands of subscribers and views, it can feel quite daunting, but I kind of see this as they're monopoly rich. It really doesn't mean a lot. Their subscriber numbers or their viewing figures should not mean anything to you whatsoever. You're sort of running your own race, and as I say, it's a marathon, not a sprint. When I think about how I go about making that content, and this is how I kind of avoid that cringe moment, that horrible moment, is I think to stop me from procrastinating and stopping me from like actually pressing record and just giving it a go at doing it, I think to myself, well, I'll just pretend I'm telling a story, a good story that I know in and out, to like a really nice friend of mine, somebody who would get me, who would be prepared, to sort of watch me for a minute, whilst we're having a cup of tea. And it's as simple as that. So it doesn't have to be sort of like this, like, oh God, there's going to be millions of people out there. Just pretend that this video is only meant to go to that one person. They're going to enjoy it probably over a short period of time, probably whilst they're cooking, having a cup of tea, killing a bit of time. It's not the end of the world. And I think that's the thing that we need to get out of our mind. That this is not something that's going to, and the winner is. It's nothing like that. It is more about sort of like building small stepping stones towards a really tangible audience that loves exactly what we do. So how do we do that? Now, this is a two-parter because I'm going to start it off, and then Hannah is going to carry on with even greater detail and share her experience as to how she got started, and it's quite funny. So, scripting it out, create intrigue, not fatigue. Only a handful of people can literally free flow it. I've got notes here to make sure that I don't ramble on too much more. And it's a way of sort of like retaining that audience by sort of having it all structured out and knowing where you are in the process. It lays down the foundation. So scripting it out, even if it's just an outline, is really worth doing. And by doing so, it gives you the opportunity to avoid, I've just done it, and then, and as. So these words are like shopping lists. So for an example, you could say, you know, suddenly we went out to the park and I got myself an ice cream, and then it went down the front of me, and then I had to go home, and then everyone was bored to tears. So really it's trying to avoid these words and having more descriptive words that sort of like but, therefore, instead, and despite. And there's a real sort of psychology behind this, and that is that our imagination, our minds want to, we love puzzles, but we also love to find solutions for those puzzles. And these words have been proven by science to sort of open up parts of our imagination that if we provide the answer, it feels satisfying. So it doesn't feel like like a shopping list that sort of like just goes on and on and on. It feels like we're having a question posed to us and then providing the answer. You know, despite everything that's going on around us, that can be quite powerful, particularly in sort of a 1 minute long video. Just like the Dulwich Picture Gallery, there was so much information in there, but we got to grips with it. That's about the 10th time I've seen it, and I'm seeing something new every time. But it's really informative, and there's that wonderful call to action at the end, which is like, you know, this has never been here before in the UK, so come down now and see it. So for those your managers or your directors who say, well, yes, but we need to post more, like, you know, get up a Canva sort of template saying that we're opening on Friday, the coffee shop and stuff like that. And it's like, well, that's just going to ruin our social media feed. We're doing storytelling. If they say, well, we need to get people in, you can say, well, look, that video's got a call to action, a really subtle call to action, but a quality call to action that people really love. So there are going to be additional resources. I could, as you could probably imagine, go on for days probably talking about this, but I've been making 2 additional videos: how to script your short form storytelling, and how to film and edit using Instagram edits. Now, previously I had said use CapCut, but they keep putting the price up. And Instagram edits for now is free, and it does all of the same things that CapCut does. You can remove the background, you can improve your audio, you can add captions with no extra cost. It's a bit fiddly to get started with, but honestly, once you get to grips with it, it's really good. So I'll be doing a video on that, and I'll be doing a video on scripting your short form storytelling. Now, if you haven't done so already, I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, so you never miss an upload. God, that sounds YouTubery. Such as the recording to this webinar, which will be made available after, and any future resources. Plus, you can get the podcast there if you don't want to go through Spotify. And the link to the channel is being placed in the chat by Nicola. See? Hopefully. Anyway, I've got no way of knowing, so I'm assuming it's happening. So, right, without further ado, right, it doesn't have to take forever to tell a good story. So, 60 million copies of her book sold, a Netflix TV documentary, sell out UK tours. That can't be right, can it? No, it's not. That's stupid ChatGPT. Oh, well, it's Hannah. Hello, Hannah. Come back and
Hello.
take over.
Thank you. None of that was true, just to confirm.
Wouldn't it be nice, though? 60 million copies of your book sold, you know?
It
But
would.
no. Anyway, I'm going to leave you to it now, but I'll be here if you need me.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, I've lost my screen. There we go. Okay. Can we all see that? Is that all
Yes, we
okay?
can. Looks perfect.
Perfect. Amazing. Okay. Hi, everyone. That was brilliant, Dean. Thank you so much. I wanted to just start by telling you a really quick story. So, 7 years ago, this week actually, I went to Kenya and I was doing a charity trek, and it was really hard actually. I kissed a giraffe. And just before I went, so I was going away for 10 days. I set an out of office to go to basically anyone that was emailing me while I was away. And instead of that happening, what happened is I actually sent a reply to every email that I have ever sent, telling them that I was going to Kenya. So when you think of how many emails that is, times that by 10, it was like 10,000 emails went out telling everyone that I had ever emailed that I was going to be in Kenya. And it was honestly the most embarrassing, the most mortifying thing that's potentially ever happened within my business. And yet, I got some clients off the back of that because people remembered what I was doing. They like hadn't heard from me in a while. And also, I posted about it on my social media last year as a story, and it ended up being one of my most popular posts that I have ever shared. So I just wanted to share that with you as a reminder that sometimes things are cringy. This was an embarrassing, a cringy moment, and yet it doesn't stop it from being a really good story that you can share with your audience. So I'm going to talk to you about some more things like this as we go through this session. So, if we haven't met before, hi everyone, my name is Hannah Isted. I am the founder of HI Communications. So, I've been doing this for the last 11 years now. I have a Amazon best-selling book called The Best 90 Days Ever, where I teach you how to promote your business in 10 minutes a day. And I also have a podcast called The Best Marketing Podcast Ever. So, what I'm going to talk to you about in this session is the fact that we will watch people cleaning their toilets. And if we all watch that, then we will absolutely have a go at, we'll watch a video of you having a go at videos. Like we will watch anything on the internet. And I just want to remind you that this does not need to be perfect. It does not need to be polished. It does not need to be the best video that you have ever made. We can have fun with this, and often the videos that are scrappy, they're authentic, that really speak to that ideal client, to that potato head that Dee was talking about, they are the ones that are going to do the best for the business that we're in, the place that we work. They are going to be the ones that are the most authentic to you. So I'm going to share with you my story framework. So we're going to go through the ST, the O, the R, and the Y, and I'm going to give you an example of a short 10-minute task that you can do off the back of those each day. And if you have any questions, please pop them into the Q&A box and me and Dean will come to them at the end. I can't see the chat, so I'm just going to keep going through it. Okay, so S is to show and don't tell. So some of you might have heard of the concept of document, don't create. I don't know if Gary Vaynerchuk invented this or, came up with this concept, but I just think it is such a useful thing to tell yourself, because how much better does it feel to say, I am going to just document my day to day, rather than I am going to sit down here and I'm going to create content. It just feels so much easier and more free flowing, more creative, just something that you could do much more easily. Now, some of the ways that I would recommend doing this is to have a bank of B-roll. So obviously that video that Dean showed where there was no face in it, that was an amazing piece of B-roll content that didn't need to have a person in there. And it's really good if you don't want to be on camera, if there's no one in your team that wants to be on camera that day, but also because you don't have to show them the thing that is happening that day. So I think this is a mistake that I often see people making. They will say, well, nothing's happening this week, there's nothing happening today that I can talk to them about. no one knows what day your content was created on. You can have a really interesting story that you are sharing now that happened a few weeks ago. It's still valid for you to share. It's still going to be acceptable for you to put it out there, obviously, unless it has some very specific timestamp to it. But don't be afraid to have that bank of video content ready for the days when there just isn't anything interesting happening. Now, the other thing that I wanted to just remind you is that this is very weird. It is so strange that we are documenting our days and the things that we do. It is a cringy concept. And I think we almost just have to accept that and move on from it because we have these incredible opportunities to promote our businesses and to promote the organizations that we work with. And we really need to be making the most of those opportunities, whether it is video content. Storytelling happens in your emails, it happens in your carousel posts, it happens in workshops that you do like this. There are so many places that storytelling takes place within your organization. So just get used to it. Really try and take that cringe out for you because the sooner you do that, the easier that it will get. So, a little task for you, a 10-minute task for show, don't tell. And that is to think about a day next week, or maybe, before the end of this month. So, before the end of March, think about a day that is going to be interesting for you to document and also for your audience to see. So you might have some deliveries coming that day. Maybe you have an exhibition or an event. Maybe you are going out to a networking event. There are lots of different things that could be happening. I want you to think about one that you want to document for yourself. Okay, nice. Let's move on to tea. So, T is for tiny moments. Now, this is something that me and my husband say all the time. Whenever something happens that could potentially become a story, maybe it's a conversation that has happened within our day. It will absolutely be the video that Dean did of us at the start of this workshop. That will become one of these. We will say, and that's why it's like your marketing, because every little thing that happens can become part of this story and part of this message that I am going to share within my business. So really think about how you can apply that to what you do. So where I'm saying, and that's why it's like your marketing, could you potentially say, and that's why you should visit us in this museum, and that's why you need art in your home. It's really thinking about those little moments that you can start to use for your own storytelling. So, for example, you might have a conversation that you've overheard. Maybe you have spoke to someone on the phone this week. There could be lots of things within this workshop that you might want to talk about. Maybe an email that a customer has sent you. There are all of these moments that are going to be so useful for your marketing. And that is your task for this one. So what I want you to do is to make a place that you can put them. So for me, that is just a note on my phone. So I have a note on my phone of interesting things that I've heard. It might even just be a sentence that I have thought, oh yeah, that's why it's like your marketing. And I will pop them down so they are ready to use. So I want you to create a place that you can put them and then just have a little think. If there's anything that has happened this week, maybe there is something that happened and you WhatsApped your friend about it and you said, I was going to say, you won't believe what this customer said. Maybe we won't say that, but there's something that was interesting enough that you would share with one of your friends. That is something that you could potentially turn into a story or a message for your social media and your marketing. Okay, so O. O is that ordinary is interesting. And I really just want to highlight that your customers and your clients are doing very ordinary things. They don't need for you to come up with something mind-blowing. That video that Dean showed us was of someone talking about soap. And I found that so interesting as someone who uses soap. So really think about how you can think about the different ordinary things that your customers and your clients are doing. So, your task for this is actually one of my favorite tasks that we do within the membership, and that is to do a client diary. So, there are a few different ways that you can do this, but basically, as you go about your week next week, I really want you to put yourself into the thought process of your customers, of your clients, and what they would be thinking about each week. So it could be something like, they're waking up on a Monday morning and they're scrolling on their phone and they wish that they had a better book to read or they had something more interesting to be doing. It can be that, some of the people that I work with are interior designers. They might be sitting down in a chair, having a cup of tea. This is definitely something that I've done this week, and looking up at a wall and thinking, I really need to put a print up there. And what you want to do is then put yourself into that situation. So, where you might be saying, here's a list of events that we have going on at our museum for half term next week. Rather than just giving them the list, you can start to create that story around it. So, you can say, if you haven't got any plans for half term next week, why not bring your kids aged whatever age that they would be and come along. You can sit down and have a cup of tea. They can go and do all of these things. By the end of the day, you will both come away with this. It's a really lovely way to spend your half term. Let us take care of that for you. Let us give you some interesting plans. That is how you turn the messaging from just putting it out there and just, like being a bulletin all the time to making it into a story that is going to actually be interesting and engaging and help them to see themselves within that. So, really think about, as your task, what is coming up for your audience in the next month, in the next 3 months, however far ahead you work with your clients. Okay, I love that one. I think it's really helpful, especially if you ever feel a little bit disconnected from who you're speaking to. That is a really nice one to do. So, we have got relatable before remarkable. So, as I mentioned, if we can watch Mrs. Hinch clean her toilets, we can absolutely watch your content too. We want to know what your people are up to. I am fed up of hearing this thing like, no one wants to know what you're having for lunch. I want to know what you are having for lunch. Tell me what you are having for lunch. I want to know what colour walls you're painting your house. I want to know where you're going on holiday. I want to know what you're doing with your half term with your kids. We do want to know all of this stuff, and there are ways that you can tie that into your audience as well. Now, I did see that a few of the questions about this were, who is the best person to have doing this for your team? And honestly, if you have the choice, then I would say it is the person whose energy is the most contagious. It is the person who actually wants to be there and who wants to speak to your audience, to the camera, is happy to do that, because we can tell when you've been forced to do something that you don't want to do. We want to feel like you are really enjoying it and that you love sharing these things. And there was a question about, is it too salesy to have someone from your marketing and comms team? You are allowed to be salesy. You want to make sales out of this, whether you're a business owner, whether you are an organization. You are marketing. This is marketing. Like, you do want sales to come off the back of this. So it's absolutely fine for you to be salesy. Please do not shy away from that. So your task for this one is to have a little look at how other businesses are doing this. So I have a little example for you here. I think that supermarkets, especially on TikTok, are brilliant at this. They are so good at bringing in members of their team, members of staff who are really interested and engaged, and then bringing those stories out. So, this first one, they are basically interviewing different members of staff to say whether they would eat the chicken or the egg from the chicken and egg sandwich first. And it was just brilliant. I think it had like over 1 million views just interviewing about a sandwich. So there are so many ways that you can learn from these different places, and you can learn from these different storytellers to create content that really fits for wherever you work as well. The other thing that I would add is that if you work at an organisation and there is potential that you might not always work at the organisation, this is such a good way for you to start to build your own personal brand and also try this out because you're doing it in front of an audience who already exists. It's very low pressure, to be honest, rather than starting your own account. And you can do this in a way that just helps to build your own confidence. So if it was me and I was going back to, before I was self-employed, I would definitely be signing up for this to be the face of my company because I would really want to do that. So, just my 2 cents on it. I thought the pros and cons list was really good, but just something else you might want to think about. Okay, our final one is your lesson. So, this is number Y. Number why, this is the why. So all good stories usually have an arc where something happens, they go through like a negative situation and then they come out the other side, and there is a lesson for that main character. So my lesson at the beginning is that I have never set an out of office again. That was truly traumatizing and I won't be doing that. But it did remind me that even when things really do feel like the end of the world and that I'd ruined my reputation, good things can come out of it. I got work off the back of that mistake. So there will be so many lessons that are happening within your day, within your week, that you can start to write down and use to create content. So really think about what happened, how you felt, what you learned from it. These do not need to be big things. They don't need to be profound. We are just trying to be human. We're being useful to our audience. Now, the task that I would love for you to do for this is to create a mind map of all of your lessons. And this could be something that you do with different members of your teams as well. So you could go and ask your CEO what the biggest lesson has been for them within their career, because I bet that will be so interesting. So create that mind map. See if you can turn those into different pieces of content. And honestly, every time you get stuck, I would go to look at that and really just see how much content you have there that you can be using. Okay. I think we're going to go back to questions just now, but I also have a little QR code here. If you scan this, there is a freebie that has 15 ways to promote your business without dancing on Reels, because I know lots of you don't want to be doing that. But I know lots of you are watching this on your phone. If you are, please just pop me a message over on my Instagram. It's in the top corner, and I am happy to send you the link at any time. So yeah, please don't worry if you're not able to scan this right now.
Lovely, thank you. Right, just going to, that's such a lovely advice. I know we've gone through this and I've watched it a couple of times, but every time I sit there and I think, well, very good point, very good point. So thank you very much for that, Hannah. We'll get to the Q&As in just a second. I should go back one. If it works, there we are. So when it comes to all things social media, I was looking in the chat, the Q&A as well, and there's lots of really great questions, some of them relating to social media, some of them relating to content. We will divvy them up. If we can't get to them in a little while, we'll divvy them up between me, Nicola, and Katie, our social media twins, okay? So up and coming webinars before we get started on our Q&A. We've got another webinar coming up. I'm going to read this out right. Step into the enchanted world of marketing pixels in this light-hearted but practical webinar designed for artists and creative and cultural in organizations. Blah, blah, blah. Whether you're promoting exhibitions, performances, festivals, or products, understanding how pixels work can help you reach the right audience, retarget visitors, and measure the impact of your campaigns. James will use familiar fairy tales and nursery rhymes. Think Goldilocks, Jack and the Beanstalk, and Little Red Riding Hood. This might be better off being done at bedtime. Just thinking that, to demystify the pixel journey and show how these tiny little bits of code can transform your digital marketing. Now, it's a 1-hour webinar with James Akers, our tech champion for the Digital Culture Network, Data Analytics and Insight, and he'll guide you through everything you need to get started. I don't want you all signing up for this because currently I hold the the prize for the most amount of people signed up for the webinar. So don't all rush out straight away, but that sounds like it could be a good one. Okay. If you need to, one more. If you need to get in touch with us, digitalculturenetwork.org.uk is our website. We're on LinkedIn. Give us a follow. YouTube channel. We've also got our podcast as well, and we're on X. So, right, Q&A. Over to you, Nicola. Tell me. I saw there's loads. There's
loads of questions. I've said in the chat, but if we can't get through them all in this time, we will respond when we send out the recording. We'll try and get round to all of them. Okay, so really good sessions, by the way, as well, both of you. Okay, so one question. What kind of equipment do you need to make good quality video footage? And are there any editing software packages you recommend?
Hannah, phone, would you say?
Yeah, phone. I also have DJI Osmo as well, which I don't think is essential, but it has made it much easier for me. I do think that a little mic goes a long way. I know you've got a massive one there, but a tiny mic.
It's on the end of a stick, to be fair.
Oh, there you go. I think that can be a game changer, especially if you are doing videos that you're filming from a distance, which actually some people just prefer being filmed from a distance than close up like this. So yeah, I would say that. I also agree with you. I use CapCut and I use edits on my phone. So both of those things have helped improve my videos.
Great stuff. Okay, and then let's skip to one of the newer ones actually, because I thought it was quite an interesting one. Do you have any recommendations on how to promote in this case, museum, but I guess any venue that can't be accessed in person?
I mean, if you think about all of the most successful museums that are on there, like I think the Tank Museum, this is gonna be really like sort of middle-aged white guy here. Tank Museum, Imperial War Museum, for a lot of people, I can't go to them anyway because they're geographically too far, but yet they've got an incredible amount of artifacts there and stories there that need to be told. So sometimes it doesn't need to be visitable, to be honest. Approach it like, we're going to make some great content that's going to appeal to Dean. Because where there's one Dean, there's another million Deans out there who's going to love it. I saw somebody say, making that content for that one true fan, what about everyone else? As long as you know the people that this would appeal to, you'll have hundreds of thousands of us, because we're all like got the similar sort of interests. So it doesn't matter necessarily that they can't physically come there, because it ultimately... you're trying to tell a story to raise awareness. It might be that you're closed for a time whilst there's renovation work going on. That's no excuse. You can still be telling that story of that battleship that's been having its work done, or a sort of a gallery that's got loads of sort of like history of having some of the greatest painters there. That story can still be told. So it doesn't need to be visited.
People do love behind the scenes as well of renovations. Weirdly, always gets really loads of
a nice time
engagement.
Lapse. We love a time lapse of a load of builders scratching around doing nothing.
Okay, in a kind of a similar vein, if you've only got quite sporadic events happening throughout the year, what can you do to fill in the gaps, basically?
That is hard. I don't want to jump in on all of them, Hannah. Do you have anything to say, or? I do a lot with festivals.
I was just going to say that this is where a wait list is so key. So I don't have anything that's available right now that you can buy from me, but I will have things in the future. So my wait list is the most important thing, and that's the thing that I am leading people to in the meantime. So I think there's always a purpose to the marketing in the in-between bits. It's just that you would then be pushing them to a wait list and then potentially taking over by email marketing then. So yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, I think with things like festivals that are obviously, maybe once a year, keeping those home fires burning, it requires you to have a lot of content whilst the festival's going on that you can then sort of spoon feed throughout it, throughout the year, whether it's like early bird offers or throwback Thursdays, or a spotlight on a local artist, and so on and so forth. But it's kind of, it does take a little bit more planning, but then there's nobody saying you need to post every week. there's none of that. It's about quality over the sheer just quantity of it. So.
Mm. Okay, another one. What happens if you record content and it doesn't turn out how you planned, i.e., it turns out cringe? And they say, is that where B-roll comes in?
Yeah, I mean, even the best filmmakers out there in the world, they'll start off with this like bucket of creativity, and then by the time they're done, they've left with a thimble of the original idea. It's all about adapting and overcoming, and the best way of doing that is by having B-roll, which gives you options. So, for instance, you might have somebody who's really eloquent and speaks beautifully on camera, but as soon as you turn the camera on, they're like, and they just don't say a word, and it's all a mistake, and loads of errors. When it comes to B-roll, you can overlay those errors, cut the errors out, so the head's not jumping around all over the place while they're talking, and it's like a lovely, seamless and smooth experience. So having B-roll gives you options in the edit. The edit is where you tell the story again. You have the idea, you film it, it doesn't turn out like you like, and then you have to sort of recover it and throw glitter on it in the edit.
Yeah.
Oh, go on.
Oh,
Go on,
sorry. I was just going to add, like, I hear this all the time, and I think it's a scale where you either need to make it take less time so it doesn't matter, or you need to make it better at the start. Sorry, that's very close off my hands, isn't it? But that's the two places that you need to look at, and most people don't know how to make it better until they like study it and they learn about it. So in the beginning, just try and make it quick. Like I did 9 videos yesterday and it took me 37 minutes because I timed it. And at least 3 of them are not good enough for me to use. And that is fine because they were so quick, it doesn't matter. So it's really like take the pressure off it for you. Stop holding them so tightly that they need to perform really well because there'll just be another one. It doesn't matter as much. So yeah, that's what I would suggest.
That's great. Yeah. And what is there anything you'd recommend for like building up staff's confidence about appearing on camera? I've got a question about people quite hesitant about appearing on camera.
When I've done interviews before like this, sometimes it's about them. Firstly, you need to build a rapport with your subject. Okay, so recently I helped an organisation, a lady, interview some of her people that come to her to sing your pain away. So if you go on Facebook, you can go and find those videos, Sing Your Pain Away. And basically what we've done is we set the camera to one side, we built a rapport with them, chatted to them about everything. I said to one lady, I asked her, how's it helped you, singing, has it helped you with your pain? She went, nah, I've had a hip done since I've been here, I've had so, my back's out at the moment. I was like, all right, well, maybe we won't say that on camera, And basically you just sort of build a little bit of rapport so that they trust you, that you're not going to make them look stupid. Another thing that I do is I film, and I don't tell them I'm filming it. So I press record, we sit down, we have a chat, and I ask them some of the questions in a rehearsal, and then generally they're quite laid back and easygoing. And then when it comes to it, the performance is great. And then at the end, I say to them, oh, like if it's an interview, I say, oh, can you give me your name again? And because we're finished now. And they're like so relieved that it's the end. They're like, hi, I'm Dean, I'm a tech champion. And it's like, oh, and then that's the video I lead with, because that's the clip I lead with, because it's full of emotion, it's full of excitement, and it just helps sell it. So if they trust you and they can see that you're not going to make them look stupid, in time, people will come around. It's not something you can just say, think like this and it'll make it all better. You have to show that you are going to be mindful of how they come across on camera and have their best interests. You don't want anyone looking uncomfortable on camera because it's contagious.
Yeah. We're just at 12. So yeah, what we'll do is any questions you've put into the Q&A, we will answer. So when you receive the recording, you'll get the questions answered too. But back over to you, Dean, if there's anything you want to finish up with.
I just want to thank everyone that's been a part of this and helped it sort of come together. Hannah, this is brilliant. Thank you so much for being here. Great advice. We could have another hour, to be honest. And the BSO interpreters as well, thank you, and Nicola and Mike as well. So thank you everyone for joining. You've been wonderful, and we'll see you again very soon.